Hello, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Viggy, and I make videos. Mostly of Yiddish. If I'm fang to hand, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. It helps us me in the channel tremendously. You can't wait na channel member, give a hit the join button. Die wusste ich schicken von der Unboxing Montag 10:01 in der Früh. Aber ich hätte gepinnt der Adress. So. Yeah. Okay, let's jump into it. CG. Hello and welcome, CG. How you doing? Jim with a J. Hello and welcome. Yossi Benavid. Lass mir das schon changen. Lass mir das geben, mal change. Hätt nicht an in vain. Bin just ein bisschen in pain. Wegen mal Riken. Lass mir das geben, edit. There you go. Gave my change. What about now, Jim with a J? Full review on gesehen Unpacked gehad. What you're not supposed to know about Hasidic Jews. Ich habe es ungeheuer für ein paar Minuten noch über decided. Ich will das watchen. I wanna watch it. CG, how was your day? Yossi, how was your day? There's the famous block. You can have my picture from the Brooklyn Bridge. Brooklyn or the Manhattan Bridge? Ben ik zeggen welke bridge is. Wow. Ich weiß immer, was die mit der Rücken. Dit war jede Inch. Wir können nicht gierig trachten, to be honest. The wildfires in Greek, in Europe, heatwave, promoting evacuations. Dit zeg. In Alaska, glacial melt has risen concerns. Ooh, wow. Record flooding, leading to evacuations. Brooklyn. Hello and welcome. How you doing? Much better. Much better. Definitely on the way out of it, so thank you for asking. Sie macht mich aber schwer trachten. Like, so nicht, wenn man hat Pain, schwer zu trachten. Gaza ceasefire talks are focusing on a potential one-time release of hostages. Okay. That would be nice, ob sie geschenkt. Brooklyn, how was your day? Wieso gewesen am Tag? Pain ist eine Sache, aber die Spasms. Es geht auch Food durch dem ganzen Body. Jetzt ich hab like the wrong Weg. Man darf nützen als Säg. South Korea former First Lady, wife of jailed ex-president, Yoon Suk Yellow, has been arrested. Sadly, hello and welcome. Have you seen water outside? Yeah. Sadly, how are you? How was your day? Ja, so du geregnet, du, mach mich ein paar Seconds, nicht geregnet, du, wie ich bin, als sag. So, man darf überdecken Flowers, um sich zu sich zerbrechen. Lass mal sehen, wie so ein Speech so den Nummern. Yoon Suk Yellow. Ich wurde arrested. Ich habe nicht mehr Advil mit andere style medications. Yoon Suk. She got arrested, so I guess she sucks now. You got your shit out? Sadly, you got a shit out and you didn't tell us? How dare you get a shit out? Sadly, you want a shit? Want a shit towel over here? Huh? You keep speaking and then it will be some shit towel going down. Cieli. So macht man nur ein bisschen out of it, you know? The pain. Because a large portion of my brain is anticipating the next time I hold my stickle spasm. You know what I'm saying? So we're watching they unpacked. But you're not supposed to know about Hasidic Jews. Ich habe gesehen andere Videos von ihm. Ich habe lieb gehabt. So, du kennst ein bisschen die Ins and Outs. Will auch sehen. Max Pitts. Hello. How you doing? Welcome. Wie ist gehen an Tag? Mistam a bad move. Mistam Brooklyn. It's a combination between bad move and a bisschen stress, I would say. JB, hello and welcome. Ich meine, ich weiß, wem die Reds von Brooklyn, von John E. Saron. Geschrieben in the book, then back pain is stress or something? Walk. Oh, ich habe Rückenweit auch, so I took a break. For a few days. Until I get back the little, wie verstehst? The groove and the move. But it's getting better. Ich habe gewagt aber zu der Corner und zurück, in der driveway. Bin up to 3,400 steps, per hand. I'll play catch up. Once my Rücken is full functioning, hat man herausgehen für, the catch up. Weil ich habe jeden Tag 10,000 steps and happens to be the last 2 days, aber ich nicht gehabt. Which is also, so da beruhigen my brain, No, ich habe noch kaum nicht gesehen, keine wegen meinem Back Pain. Chiropractors habe ich mooi, ich nicht lieber mit Touch mehr. So, it's like, don't know. Penny. Hello and welcome. He says back pain is due to riding in the brain. Oh, all right. Don't know. But I would say associate with stress. Penny, how are you? How was your day? Mein Neighbor, ein alter, nicht Hand, ein murliger Neighbor, gewohnt ergens dort gehen ein Neighbor, wo sie gewähnt, auch at like 6'2", 6'1". And I took him walking via L-shape, and I'm like, what's going on? I weiß nicht, something with his back, and he's making appointments, and as he's waiting for appointments, I think I learned a book that back pain could start from stress, and it went away. Meaning, so Baruch Hashem accomplished much. Nice, Benny. Your success is our success. We shared the successes. Okay, in Cameroon I'm 8:15, so in some of a paar minutes. Taiwan is evacuating residents as Typhoon Paudel approaches the southeast coast. Oof. I broke my back when I was 16. Oh, I still feel it, especially now when riding. There isn't anything to do really. Okay. At least I'm not riding a bike. Ich habe gesehen, du, für Penny, ich habe gewatscht, du, habe es nicht gewatscht, ich habe es umgehoben. Es heißt Unpacked, heißt the channel. But you're not supposed to know about Hasidic Jews. Ich habe schon einmal gewatscht andere Sachen für seinen Channel, ich habe nur gerade den Weg, wo sie ist. So, lass mal sehen, du weißt dich ein bisschen, so. Das sind die kleinen Sachen. Don't let any chances touch your back. If you continue. No, it's the East, John. Thank you. But it's the East. Es ist schon Sach besser. Ich habe schon einmal gehabt. A motorcycle. He rides a motorcycle. I fell down 2 flights. Oh, wow. Sorry. Don't let any Chinese. You can, is it the Chinese Sache, Brooklyn, or then? I'm not a massage guy anyway, so not for me. Oh my God, Finny. Well, you're not gonna forget that. You're not gonna forget that year. All right, het is 8:15. It's time of watching do from Unpacked as the channel. What you're not supposed to know about Hasidic Jews. The secrets. 8 hours ago, let me refresh the page.
Acted as
Hold on. 8 hours ago, saw it showing 6,700 views. So let me say, what the secrets he's going to reveal.
Wander the streets of New York, and sooner or later, you'll see them. Hasidic Jews are instantly recognizable. But with all that recognition comes all sorts of assumptions. You've heard the stereotypes. They're the most authentic Jews, or they're super extreme, or they're stuck in the past.
Ze doen als shots. We zijn niet zo'n fan movies, you know, different movies.
Authentic Jews, or
This is van movie.
they're super extreme, or they're stuck in the past.
Laat maar zien wie de zaken zijn dat zijn gezien, doe. Die mens, doe, de eerste, niet met de wasse boord, de andere met de grootste boord, die is er langzaam in de back, hegemir. Wat eenmaal heb ik schon gezien op clips van hem, dat perfect English, met zijn vaab, maken TikToks. En die kind, this is van een movie, you know.
Well, I'm about to blow your mind. Because Hasidic Judaism actually started as a rebellion. For centuries, rabbinic elites acted as gatekeepers, guarding a rationalist form of Judaism meant only for scholars. Then a miracle-working mystic came along and turned everything upside down. What happened next ignited a war that almost tore Judaism apart. So, who are the rebels who turned Judaism on its head?
Ja, een kind dat ik uitkijkt via, wie ze heißt das? Via actor. Ze van movies, asaf.
Hasidim are so
This is langzaam. Langzaam, oder wie ze heißt der van Square?
iconic that they've become synonymous with all Jews. But the movement is actually only a few centuries old, tracing its origins to 1700s Ukraine. It was a harsh time and place to live, particularly for Jews. All peasants suffered from crushing poverty and the constant threat of exploitation from the landowners who
Joseph. Go at Yiddish. Hello and welcome. How was your day?
rented out the fields where they eked out
Menashe Lustig? Oh, okay.
a meager living. But only Jews had to worry about being slaughtered by their neighbors. Anything.
Oh, this is, hold on.
But only
This is Fiddler on the Roof. This is Hechemir Reptevia.
Jews had to worry about being slaughtered by their neighbors. Anything could set off a pogrom, from a populist uprising to, hey, it's Sunday. So the Jewish communities of Ukraine did their best to manage their own affairs, from religious
Okay, so this is Fiddler on the Roof.
matters to civil disputes to education and even welfare. The Jewish community kept it all in-house, reluctant to turn to non-Jews unless absolutely necessary. At the top of the Jewish social hierarchy were the rabbis, who had been educated in the elite
Kijk hoe de Geverman doen in de midden.
At the top of the Jewish social hierarchy were the rabbis, who had been educated in the elite study houses of Poland and Lithuania. These were serious scholars who spent their days poring over the Talmud and debating the most minute points of Jewish law. Education has always been a form of social currency among Jews, and these 1%ers were the gatekeepers, answering questions, arbitrating disputes, and defining Jewish practice for their impoverished communities. Their communities were impoverished, not just financially, but spiritually too.
I would say literacy was at a very low level. You know, they would understand, if anything, the basic ability to read a prayer book at best, and no sense of spirituality. A sense that spirituality is something for the elite few far away. But they were living in, I think, a generation of
Zeg het English.
tremendous darkness.
Your average Ukrainian Jew could only dream of entering the famed study halls of Poland or Lithuania.
They feel disenfranchised and maybe even a little bit disrespected. And they still have an intense spiritual longing that is undoubtedly associated with the kind of spiritual influences of the entire region, the closeness to nature, and they want to find a way to express it.
So they relied on community rabbis to settle any questions they might have had, which meant that the common Jew more or less did whatever the rabbis told them to, even if they didn't understand why. But their lack of
Sie ist mit Tid, wo der Rebbe sucht. Der Rebbe sucht, tit man. Man wart nicht, man lacht nicht, man fragt nicht.
education didn't diminish their utter devotion, both to God and to a worldview steeped in magic and mysticism. Jewish tradition acknowledges the existence of the supernatural, and over the centuries, different communities have developed their own rituals and superstitions to ward off demons, heal the sick, lift curses, predict the future, etc.
There's such a long millennial history of Jews turning to various theurgic devices, meaning amulets and scraps of prayer or red threads and things like that, in order to act as a kind of physical prayer, as a kind of a prayer made manifest in a physical form as an act to, shape the universe in which we live.
Now, your average Jew found it difficult to call on God. So the Jews of Ukraine turned to Baalei Shem, miracle workers whose title translates to Masters of the Name. These masters were said to know the names of
Lord of the Rings.
angels, demons, evil spirits, even God himself. They worked miracles by drawing on Kabbalistic tradition to evoke these names. But these Baalei Shem served another function for the desperate communities of 18th century Ukraine.
They dedicated themselves to not just Torah and mastery and halacha and the Talmud, which they all, of course, had in spades, but the practical
Oh, wir gegangen zu Harry Potter?
experiential, supernatural, mystical elements. What they would actually spend their days doing is going from community to community, town to town, finding people who are widows or orphans
Sorry, Penny, for that shoulder
or
situation.
impoverished, finding jobs for them, work for them. They would teach, they would bring people in and educate the kids.
Some Baalei Shem were truly learned people steeped in Kabbalistic tradition. Others had some medical knowledge which they used to heal. But some were nothing more than charlatans, preying on the gullible with amulets they couldn't read, rituals they didn't understand, and quack remedies that did nothing. So it was a badge of honor to be not just a Baal Shem, but a Baal Shem Tov, a master of the good name. The more miracles you worked, the more likely you were to be seen as the real deal. And there was no one more real than the man who kicked off the entire Hasidic movement. A figure so iconic,
Hold on.
no one more real than the man who kicked off the entire Hasidic movement. A figure so iconic that today, he's simply known as the Baal Shem Tov. Of course, the Baal Shem Tov, or Besht, hadn't always been known by this name. He was born Israel ben Eliezer. Though details of his life are scarce and subject to change depending on the narrator, here's what we do know.
A major breakthrough from the historical point of view came when a great scholar at Bar-Ilan University took advantage of the collapse of communism and went back and actually went into these Polish archives, which until then were largely closed to Western researchers. They don't reflect the same kind of miracle working and things like that, but what they do reflect is the fact that he was clearly an individual who was held in great regard by the Jewish community. He's not a figment of the imagination of later generations, but that he was a person of considerable stature and leadership by the time we get to the second half of the 18th century.
Those are the sorts of details that excite historians. But if you ask a Chassid about the life of the Baal Shem Tov, they'll take a different approach.
He was the last receiver of a very ancient tradition of Jewish spiritual practice that was rooted deeply in Kabbalah, and not just the theoretical Kabbalah, but the actual transformational, experiential, prophetic.
Prophetic definitely nicht, wenn du. Nicht von unserer. Maybe in English.
Elements of the Kabbalistic tradition. He was a supernatural healer that would create miraculous healings, channeling divine energies and consciousness and meditation techniques, etc. He brought together the mystical experiential path and really delivered that in a revolutionary way.
I started from the script. He talks a lot of salad.
Not just to the elite, but said every potato farmer, it's time that they will give
Brooklyn hat sich schon gelohnt, die ganze Sache, nur verdammt kommend.
access to this knowledge and experience.
But the Baal Shem Tov wasn't just any miracle worker. He was a teacher and a leader
He was the Baal Shem Tov.
who deeply loved his fellow Jews. Most rabbinic elites scorned the poor and barely literate common man. But the Baal Shem Tov treated everyone, no matter how uneducated, as a precious spark of the divine. Sure, the average Jew didn't know enough to debate the Talmud, but there were other equally valid avenues to God. like singing, wordless, repetitive songs that propelled the
Wordless?
singers into a meditative state from which they could better communicate with God. Or like stories, cryptic parables meant to make the audience think deeply about morality and ethics. Or like ecstatic dance during prayer, turning every synagogue into a swaying, jumping, whirling chaos that transported its congregants ever closer to God. The Baal Shem Tov
Ist ja funny, der Weg, wie sie sucht das du, sounds es wie der Baal Shem Tov ist herangekommen und hat weggenommen die ganze Sorte, was man gemeint Erdenskeit, und mit jedem included, mit dem Tanzen. In Hand baut man Schiels pink verkehrt, zurück, sie ernst, und man kann gut nicht stehen, und man geht weg von dem.
probably didn't intend to kick off a revolution, but his devotion to his fellow Jews and his insistence that anyone could grow close to God struck a deep chord in the hearts of poor Eastern European Jews. They loved the mysticism of this style of worship. They loved cultivating a deep personal connection to God, one that didn't require years of scholarship or a strong grasp of the finer points of Jewish law. They loved the stories and the prayer and the dancing and the songs, and above all, they loved the joy that they found in this growing movement. There was no asceticism here, no snobbery, no strict rationality, only a sense of being deeply beloved, cherished by God and by fellow Jews. The Baal Shem Tov reminded his students that God loved them all with equal fervor, from the simplest water carrier to the most elite scholar. He made common folk feel, for the first time, that they mattered. They had been put on earth for a unique purpose that no one else could fulfill. And he taught them that with enough practice, they could achieve a transcendental relationship with God, a sort of oneness with the source of all life. To the common folk, all of this was a revelation.
So the Baal Shem Tov, way before psychedelics, was the first person to step up and democratize this.
Way before psychedelics. Psychedelics is way before ints. Just saying. Timeline.
Spiritual experience. He recentered that back to the core of Torah, the core of Judaism, was to live in divine awareness with Source. He opened up the ecstatic experiential side, not to believe in God as a theory, to have faith, because I know there's a God out there, even though my life is miserable. But when life is hard and difficult and overwhelming, to close down the external mind and open up to a direct divine experience and revelation, all the supernatural power and transformational healing energy that comes from that. More radical than that, he said you don't have to be a master of all the Talmud or all the Torah to access that.
When the Baal Shem Tov said that every Jew could cultivate a deep, personal relationship with God, he meant it. And soon, Jewish women were going just as hard as the men, singing and praying.
Sadly, you hear that? The women were going just as hard.
And meditating and seeking God as full participants.
There's no question that the Hasidic movement was really challenging norms on a whole pile of areas. And one of the many sort of like side effects of challenging the norms is it also meant that women could challenge the norm. And that's why you have some fascinating growth of really interesting and unusual women who become Hasidic leaders. Many of the Rebbitzins, maybe the wives of the Rebbes themselves, often attain tremendous prominence, sometimes catering to female audiences and sometimes catering to general audiences. Don't forget that this is a period of tremendous change in general. Technology is advancing rapidly. You have the growth of far more printed materials available. You have political change afoot. You have all kinds of things going on. So all of a sudden, women have more and more roles to play in this new Hasidic movement, and they're defining new roles for themselves.
Of course, they upheld Jewish religious norms. There was no mixed dancing, no inappropriate mingling. Women were still
Boo. I thought it's going to be something.
Expected to be wives, mothers, and homemakers. But they were also expected to cultivate an intimate relationship with the divine and to seek joy while fulfilling their unique purpose. So it's no wonder that the movement took off. By the end of the century, decades after the Baal Shem Tov himself had passed away, his students were spreading his message far and wide. Soon, the rabbinic elites took notice. They did not like what they saw.
People look in the Hasidic world today from modern American perspective, and they think it's the most conservative, most conformist, most old school culture maybe in the world. This started as the most countercultural avant-garde revolutionary movement in the world. And at its core, it still is.
But authority figures generally don't appreciate countercultural movements. Things were about to get ugly between the Hasidim and the old guard elites.
I don't know what I expected. I was time gold watching, here na perspective.
Who soon styled themselves as misnagdim, which literally means opponents.
By the time you get to the late 18th century and the early 19th century, there's a war going on. It gets really awful. People are thrown in jail left and right. Book burnings, bans, all kinds of really nasty stuff. The Misnagdim were saying this Hasidic movement is totally antinomian. That's kind of like a fancy word meaning against the laws. They're not following Jewish law.
So the Misnagdim used every tool in their arsenal to denounce this new movement. The Hasidim were too raucous, too much singing, too much dancing, too much vodka.
You were having too much fun.
It was unseemly. And what was all this nonsense about mysticism for the masses? In Jewish tradition, only the most learned scholars were allowed to delve into the secrets of the Kabbalah, because mysticism and metaphysics are the most complex parts of the Jewish tradition. According to the Misnagdim, without the foundation of Jewish law, mysticism can lead to idolatry. But here were ordinary people who could barely make it through a page of the Talmud, going on and on about mysticism and metaphysics and cultivating a personal relationship with God. At best, this was sheer chutzpah. At worst, it was heresy. Hasidim had committed the ultimate sin, at least in the eyes of this rabbinic elite. They had separated themselves from the community. They had their own style of prayer and their own synagogues, their own stringencies of kosher slaughter and their own songs and stories. They had their own Jewish curriculum and their own ideas about what was proper. In short, they were upending everything. And everyone knew what happened the last time a charismatic mystic took it on himself to change everything. Nearly a century before the Baal Shem Tov came on the scene, a false messiah had upended the Jewish world. Decades later, the Jewish world still hadn't recovered.
An individual called Shabbatai Tzvi came to power. Lo and behold,
Shabbatai Tzvi.
he led in the mystical, in the experiential, and gave many people access to that. Lo and behold, he started to really rebel, doing things that I wouldn't say in this video, but if people hear, they'd be shocked. He suddenly announced across Europe that he was the Mashiach. Since the time of pogroms of ultimate darkness, and a light went through all Jewish Europe that said, maybe this is it. And
their host is, ich meine, Zayid.
within 2 years, the movement collapsed and he converted to Islam and devastated the entire Jewish community. But the rabbis at the time stood up and said, Jewish mystical practice must remain underground. They said this can never be public again.
He was a bad
Therefore,
hombre?
the environment the Baal Shem Tov stepped into, especially the rabbinic leadership, were hypersensitive that this was another Shabbatai Tzvi in the process, and they were fast to clamp down.
But there was no putting the genie back in the bottle. The Hasidim were very attached to their traditions, to their rabbis, and to their vision of Judaism. No amount of scolding was going to change their devotion. But maybe excommunication would do the trick? Lithuania's most prominent rabbi, a man so learned he is known to this day as the genius of Vilnius, led the charge against the Hasidim.
The Vilner Goen?
Like them, he was deeply immersed in the world of Kabbalah and mysticism. But that's where the similarity stopped. Where Hasidim believed in mysticism for the masses, he believed the mysteries of the Kabbalah should be open only to the most elite scholars. Where Hasidim emphasized joy, he was an ascetic, totally uninterested in pleasures like eating or sleeping. And he had absolutely no intention of letting these rabble-rousers do any more damage than they already had. So he excommunicated them all. The Jewish concept of excommunication is rooted in the Torah. But by the time the 18th century rolled
Martin. Hello and welcome.
around, the rabbis had developed an entire protocol around banishing people from the community. Shunning might not sound like a big deal, but remember, Judaism is a peoplehood. It's a communal religion. We pray together, celebrate together, mourn together. It's literally impossible to fully practice Judaism on your own. But the Hasidim were not on their own. By this point, they were a massive movement, a force to be reckoned with, no matter how hard their opponents tried. And their opponents really, really tried. Today, this battle might seem ridiculous to some of us, because in practice, there are very few differences between a Hasid and a Misnagid. They had a different approach to Jewish education and emphasized different values. But when it came to rituals, to actual Jewish practice, their differences
I guess we're going to stissel.
were on smaller issues. They argued over things like how sharp the blade used in ritual slaughter should be, or the latest time you can pray in the morning. So it was important, at least to them. So important, in fact, that Misnagdim burned Hasidic texts, wary of the heresy they might contain. So important that Misnagdim banned their children from mingling or, God forbid, marrying Hasidim. In a moment of utter darkness for the Jewish people, Some Misnagdim even turned to the Tsar with wild stories of Hasidic leaders being spies and dissidents. The Tsarist authorities were not fans of the Jews or subversion of any sort. The Misnagdim who set the authorities on Hasidic leaders knew that there were very real chances that these rabbis would never leave prison. And yet, their animosity was so strong that they turned the authorities against their fellow Jews. It was a dark and terrible moment in Jewish history.
So there's no question that the Misnagdim were on the defensive, and a lot of the attacks on the Hasidim were motivated by that defensive position. The Hasidim, however, were certainly not innocent of any kind of undermining of Misnagdic intent. And don't forget, we're talking about competition for scarce economic resources. That, if you're going to have one rabbi in town, is it going to be one of these newfangled Hasidic rabbis? Is that going to change everything? That's also a whole new revenue stream through
It always comes back to money.
the communal taxes. So there's definitely real competition, and there's actually some nastiness going both ways.
For nearly a century, the two groups were at odds. It was Capulets and Montagues, Hatfields and McCoys. And it might have stayed that way forever.
Don't know Brooklyn. Ich weiß nicht, wie Stüssel hält. Ich habe nur gewatcht die ersten zwei, I think.
If not for the Haskalah. The Enlightenment had swept through Europe beginning in the 17th century. But it came to the Jews nearly 100 years later, when German Jews first got the idea that maybe Jews and Christians were in fact equals. I know, it's radical. Like their non-Jewish counterparts, the so-called Maskilim, or enlightened Jews, believed in reason and education.
I was a student in the university there.
At first,
Sag mal, du mir Gitter Steckel.
I was a student in the university there.
Oh, university.
First, they tried to reconcile their ancient religion with the modern age. Some of the leading figures of the Jewish Enlightenment were fully observant and saw no issue.
Sehen Sie kicken aus? Sie alle kicken aus Chassidisch.
Some of the
Hershey. Hello and welcome. How you doing?
leading figures of the
Kick on. Moshe Mendel is er schon. Kijk toch zeggen, zit je man.
Jewish Enlightenment were fully observant and saw no issue with practicing Judaism while also keeping up with modern culture. Very quickly, though, the movement took on a secular tinge as some Maskilim began to argue for reforming Judaism. And that is how Reform Judaism got its name. You ever hear the expression, the enemy of my enemy is my friend? Well, to both Hasidim and Misnagdim, these enlightened Jews were the enemy, which made Hasidim and Misnagdim friends. It turned out that their differences were minuscule compared to what the Maskilim were proposing. Reforming Judaism? Mingling with non-Jews? Building a secular Jewish state without waiting for the Messiah? Had the world lost its mind?
The Haskalah comes in and says, you know, you guys are arguing about how sharp versus how durable the blade can be when you slaughter an animal in terms of kosher. But we were actually thinking of having shellfish tonight. You are arguing about what time exactly Shabbat should begin and end, but we were thinking of literally moving Shabbat to Sunday to fit in with our non-Jewish neighbors. And when the Hasidim and the Misnagdim realized that the Haskalah is really gaining force, particularly in Germany, in France, and so on, they say, wait a second, hold the horses.
Suddenly, the two groups who had fought each other so bitterly found themselves on the same side. That was the side of tradition, of observing Jewish law, of not mingling too much with the outside world. To this day, Hasidim and Misnagdim all over the world have much more in common with each other than with most other Jews, though Misnagdim as a title has fallen out of fashion. These days, they're not really opponents anymore, and so we refer to them mostly as Litvish, a nod to their Lithuanian roots. Both Hasidic and Litvish communities were utterly decimated by the Holocaust. But the few survivors found the strength to rebuild, transporting their famed yeshivot to Jerusalem or New York, and creating a world that has long since vanished.
It's true. New York.
And that's one reason, though not the only one, that both communities have so many children. They're repopulating a world that tried and failed to erase them. It's the ultimate act of rebellion from people who look anything but rebellious. But both Hasidim rebellion from people who look anything but rebellious.
Deze rief me een echte Ziese Willensbegringer, man.
Yes. But both Hasidim and Litvish Jews are utterly countercultural. They reject secular norms around dress, around food, around gender roles, around the definition of success. Most, though not all, avoid the internet, TV, secular books, even secular society. Like all insular communities, Hasidim are an endless source of fascination to outsiders. They're aware that the outside world perceives them with a mixture of curiosity, confusion, and sometimes hostility.
I like that Andrew Abbystein.
Communities, Hasidim are
in alle videos.
An endless source of fascination to outsiders. They're aware that the outside world perceives them with a mixture of curiosity, confusion, and sometimes hostility. But like all revolutionaries, they don't pay much attention to what the outside world has to say.
It's astonishing to see from Netflix, from social media, how people perceive us. So when people look at me or some of our students and friends and say, why on earth would you like to do that? We laugh because we know what's happening on the inside, what gift that is to our community, our friends, our students, our children. It is the most profound understanding of all of human consciousness and psychology, way ahead of its time, and the tools and the skill set for every human being to live with divine experience, to heal, to transform, to overcome fears and doubts, and live accessing, channeling your highest state, your divine nature.
So, who are the Hasidim? They're scholars and mystics, radicals and revolutionaries. They've profoundly influenced modern Judaism. They're fiercely protective of their way of life because they have found deep meaning in a chaotic world. And that is something to be proud of.
Okay, nicht ein schlechter Video. Nicht schlecht, let's give my like. Educational, sei scheint zusammengestellt, but sucht nicht etwas major. Bin ich sucht, ist es accurate? Ja, es ist information. Ich habe es gegeben mal like, redden dich für Likes. Ich habe hit the like button. Love Me Tender. Israel Horovitz.
Love me tender.
56 views. Ich will reviewen. Se du a pur, was ich will reviewen, hold on. Srulik Miller. Chuppah live. Said I live in a chuppah 3 days ago, 5,500 views. But I'm gonna give my watch do. They Love Me Tender from Israel Horowitz.
Love me sweet, never let me go. You have made my life complete, and I love you so.
Ich darf noch letting loose, I darf werden comfortable in seiner voice.
Love me tender, love me true, all my dreams fulfill. For my darling, I love you, and I
Sadly, not so cringe.
always will.
Always will.
Love me tender, love me long, take me to your heart, for it's there that I belong and will never part.
What is that, my Frank Sinatra?
Love me tender,
Weiß nicht, wer es
love
ist.
me true,
Joseph.
all my dreams fulfill. For my darling, I love you.
Er hat the voice, er hat the voice.
And I always will. Love me tender, love me dear, tell me you are mine. I'll be yours through all the years till the end of time.
Sadly, why do you hate it?
Love me tender, love me true, all my dreams fulfill. For my darling, I love you, and I always will.
All right. So, uns gaan wir jetzt watchen a Chippa live in Srulik Miller. Mach refresh in the page. Zij wensen is erover gegangen. 3 days ago, 5,500 views. Because it's good. Yeah, I disagree, but hey. Ich darf mir das noch mal nehmen, ich bin nicht durchgewehen. Hershey, ich habe gesehen, also hat andere Videos, but I'll get to know his channel noch mit mir reviewen. Aber das schreiben noch einmal. I like the violin in the background. Ja, dat was deze stuk. Hershey, ik ga verstaan. Violin. Sally, you're giving me PTSD as we speak. Is this a business card, das singt? Weil man singt sehr schnell bei Naginam. The video editing with the music is off. It's a feel funny.
Bohi beshalom, ateret bala, gam berina, uvetzala, toch emunea, segula, bohi beshalom.
Ich wollte ihm gewollt hören mit der Live-Band. Srulik Miller heißt der Singer. Ich darf tun einmal ein bisschen niedriger denken. Ein bisschen niedriger. Brooklyn making a good deal. Good one. Sorry, übersingen auf du. Okay, he's got the ending. Okay, nicht schlecht. Not bad at all. A paar parts again, also wie man kann sehen, at an eye. But again, at an eye. And this is an advertisement for him. So, I wish him the best of luck. I'll give him a like that video. So, red dich von likes. Ik heb hier de like button. Het gaat een lange weg. Sel is gefragt, wusste es noch heiliger wie a Chippe? Two Chippes at the same time. There you go. And that's your joke, brought to you by Holy Jewish Chippe. I cry more by Chippes as I see myself in the couple. Yeah, I get what you're saying, Penny. I get what you're saying. So we are new refreshed Zach in life when we came to the Chippe. At least that's how represent man us. We never became nicht verstanden growing up. Aber man nimmt a Chippe und man legt das auf a stage und man legt cameras mit lights und man kickt. Don't understand. Ist nicht das der Tag, ist nicht das der Schuh. Die beste groß für ganz Leben. Maybe wegen dem du an der Sache getten, weil man ist busy mit der wrong Sachen. Who knows? All right. The next video is von Levi Volkovich. In anything mit Levi Volkovich, ich bin ein großer Fan von Levi Volkovich. One of the best Yiddish singers. Underrated for sure. Mitzvah heißt der Ding. Shira Band, Shira Choir, in Yankee Briskman. Yankee Briskman get me no, wie rief man das? Get me as a humble vibe, which I like it. Shows weakness. Zie wem man was man, wie was man. Bei Brooklyn man was weakness, huh? Bei neuem Review, ich habe schon reviewed, Nächten oder ein Nächten. Family B. Hello and welcome. Crime Private. Sie nicht weinen, Brooklyn. Man weint nicht. Sie just emotional. Und wenn man weet, also ist, man reach ja a level emotion, activate es. Ich treffe es mit einem fancy Wort. Der Mechanism im Kopf, was macht dich weinen? Man weint nicht. Sie nicht a weinen. It's just a mechanism was geschieht. So wie man nennt das auch Moments, du the side effects. The side effects of werden emotional is as a malota trer. You know what I'm saying? Oh, the Family B, the that's van Karachov of. Hold on. This van Feldman. They boy no oil video. Is that what you're talking about? Du hab ich von langsam Feldman, Boyne Oilem 2025. There's a shoe in 40 minutes. Bro. Ich kann nicht a shoe in 40 minutes in mir jetzt. A shoe in 40 minutes. Sitzen auf dem Bänkel. I find Feldman a bit corny. Hasidische jokes is sehr stark borderline to corny, I would say. Ich meine, ich werde es überlassen für nächste Woche, wenn mein Rücken ist besser. Is do a delay. Not something I can control. Ga this review next Woche. Just because it's an hour and 40 minutes. And ich kann nicht an hour and 40 minutes sitzen auf mir. You get what I'm saying? Ich kann nicht kein Rücken zu sitzen. So, ich reize die ganze Musik. Ich lege es aber auf the back burner für nächste Woche. So, Family B, der Mann macht nächste Woche, if you don't mind. Alright, und jetzt gehen wir gehen zu Levi Volkovich, Yankee Briskman, der Shira Choir, sie wurden darauf gelegt, ein Tag zurück 3,900 views. Family B, reis machen nächste Woche. So, you know what I'm saying? Try to take a muscle relaxer, yeah. Darf gaan kaufen my muscle relaxer. Agreed. Okay, jetzt gehen wir watchen den Mitzvah. Or a big blunt. Talking to the professionals. Kijk op the French horn guy. Hold on. The French horn guy kijkt op die versen.
Lass is mitzwe, a reine machshuve getracht. Benenes de velo yosse, a neines hat sich gemacht. Male, ula vakusif kil yosse.
Come on, tell me this is smooth.
Male, ula vakusif kil yosse. Machshuve toy vakudoy, wurde ich mit zarfel masse. Lass es mitzwe, a reine machshuve getracht.
Just the cameras with the editing, we're going places. Hershey Weinberger's nice song, nein, schick her an. They have them on Finshira, by the way. They... Jenner, nicht der Hechemir. Jenner, hold on. Jenner dorten? Whenever me seht ihm singen, singt eigentlich mit einem vollen Schwung.
Der Heilige war schämt im Tod, im Tag ein Fratig Vatersmann. Kenn ich gein sich träumen, sich wie kann ich mit Tagen sein.
Schick mir das an, Brooklyn, if you don't mind.
Da hätt ihr Gefühl mit Israel alles. Läuft in Schild, sie Kabul in Schabes. Hul ist im Rein zufrieden. Wenn ihr rufe es im Krug, Eula jene. Was jedem Stein mit Winden, sie da cool, ich schaß in klar.
Thank you.
Sie euste der Ebbe, such sei die Beschau. Als wenn der Eibste des Male Hulauf geille. Nicht an der Maße Kavones das Wille. Die Mitzvah, doch man nicht beschleimen. Es wird rein mit Kavones, mit alle Scheiben. Lass es Mitzvah, allein nur noch Schuhe getragen. Denn es will euch aussehen, an neues hat sich gemacht. Male, Ula, was du dir nie aussehen. Mach Schuhe, toi, vakudo, ich wurde hier mit Zarfele, Masse. Ich lass es mitzvah, a reine machshuve getracht. Benennen sie will euch aussehen, an neues hat sich gemacht. Male, Ula, was du dir nie aussehen. Machshuve.
Koiden zeg du ab de bassgitaar, kijk dus weer goed zit. De Heberman is kijk dus de bassgitaar behind left Volkovich. Ja? She. Stark Noah. Because they jinge man do, they Heberman. Ik dacht er aan hours and hours and hours. Ze weer naar bassgitaar. In deze zitten maar weg en we vinden hier zoveel andere schlechte Sachen. So. Wer jullie Horowitz?
Ein Mann auf dem Weg für sein Kahn, prat ich Vadensmann. Ein älterer Ried schläft sich zu fies, fällt ihm an a Plan. Ihr geht dahin, geht er afraid.
Sie kicken Shows also, Family B. Kicken Shows die ich will gehen zu man.
größten Schkoin, aber nein, vom Mann gesehen, sie fies darf ich gehen. Inge Mann ausgetein am Mitzwe vergeset, nicht bepoil, afille, beim Chische Blases, Mitzwe benenes, mal
Thank you, Herrscher.
gekille. De Mitzwe, I doch Mann, ich beschleimes, mit reine Kamones, mit allem Scheines, Bules sind.
Zamburt is ein Sach, but Zampayas. The head guy from Shira, that's the fin? Phew.
Zufrieden, manier hoe we zien gooi la Alleine mach Schule getragen.
Es will euch jasse.
An eines hat sie gemacht. Malen, malen, ule makus et kill die jasse. Mach Schule toi wachut, toi wurde ich mit Zarfe, le masse. Ay, Chische las es mit Zwe. Alleine mach Schule getragen. Den eines will euch jasse.
We've got the active changes.
The masse.
Ow, Marik.
Ay, Chische las es mit Zwe. Alleine mach Schule getragen. Den eines will euch jasse. An eines hat sie gemacht. Male, male, ule makus et kill die jasse. Mach Schule toi wachut, toi wurde ich mit Zarfe, le masse.
Lass es Mitzwe, sie tun am Mitzwe, hat doch nicht kein Kitzwe.
Zamburt. Ze niet hier en niet heen. Er zijn de firefighters. Is jullie Horowitz? The pious is beautiful pious. No, the boert. Ich meine, ze wachsen is de boer schon van lang. Meaning, had schon de boer zat er is public.
Lass es Mitzwe.
Nicht ganz schlechte Sach, gewoon is de richtige Wörter. Nicht ganz schlecht. Nicht schlecht. Nicht geht, meaning, like, ze nicht kan 10. Was gave my like. So red nicht van likes, ik hit the like button. Please, of course. Thank you for doing it. Es ist nicht schlecht, but es ist nicht something crazy. Es ist nicht Penny sagt, barely average song, but Levi saved it. Yes, yeah. Hat also a soft voice, also between a Motreb and David, very, very smooth. Ich denke noch, Levi was an Diede in Etzisruel. Ich suchte gerade wen a Singer. It was kind of interesting. Martin, have a lovely and awesome night. Ich hoffe, du seine für eine Minute. All right. The andere Video, was wir gerade watchen, also, is von Hershey Weimiger, 2 days ago, 4,300 views. A Jingle heißt der Negen. So, an organization supporting families waiting for children. At the time, with 2 beautiful daughters, but I have been many years for a Jingle. Okay, and is going happy with the meidlich? Ik wil a Jingle, which makes sense. Joking, of course. Today is one of the first son's bris. Oh, got a baby, so I guess... Laat maar het zo zeggen. Production by Hedy Rosenberg, weiß ich nicht. He made this for a new baby boy. That's nice.
The sigh of Lee, the sigh of Lee. benin digerin a yingele Vesai avli
Hoe staat Sayavli?
De avdin de Isach a yingele
Draait ze aan weer Lipa een bisschen. Zingt een bisschen weer Lipa.
Vesai avli Oy vesai avli Benin digerin a yingele Vesai avli Oy vesai avli De afdin reisach a yingele
Waar Martins gezocht als wenn Mami hat ein neues Baby, bringt es der Feigl. So, hello.
a yingele Was wird mir nachts geben a yingele Was wird teure mit verstreben a yingele Ehrlich in Wo soll wachsen geht in Wohl mit niedische Chai a yingele Wo soll mir nachts geben a yingele Wo soll teure mit verstreben a yingele Ehrlich in Wo soll wachsen geht in Wohl mit niedische Chai
It's just the lisp. The lisp is a bisschen... Ich try es ignoren, to be quite honest, weil is sehr talented. So I guess ich geworden als Sach. Lieb hat rausgegeben, wenn ich geworden als Seide. Ich hätte raus, wenn ich hatte ein Jingle. Es ist wird als ein Style. Okay. Bald hat dann rausgekommen, Negin, wie ich gehabt Breakfast oder something like that, you know? Er nur busy als de Kinder hem geben nachs, but wie ist der Fall, wie geht anlegen de Keuches? Tira pau. Tiri biri beep beep. Something gekratzt at certain places, I would say. It is talented. It is Zaya talented. I'll give him that. But einigen ist etwas major. Sorry. The andere Ding is auch von Hershey Weinberger. Hold on a second. Hold on. Hope this song is better. I love those only I can write a song. Nur gegangen, fang uns schreiben. So the andere niggen für ein aim, gelernt ein paar comments. Sorry. 3 days ago, 5,400 views. Fliegelig heißt der niggen. Naftula Schnitzler. This is produced by Naftula Schnitzler. Simple. Vinny, dan love is the song, okay?
Zie dir, mein lieber Kind, a Triff in mein Oig zerrinnt. Ich glaub nicht, als in meine Hand, ich halt dich schon als Kind. Ich seh, dann legt ich Punem, die schanzt also in La.
Ich picture mich, singt das, the baby is in the crib, and the POV is von the baby kicken auf the crib, und steht da hura weg von der Punem, und singt den Nigen.
In seine Herz hier aufgemacht. Viel mit Simche, als wir haben schon in dem Tag gebracht. Die kommst jetzt hinter unsere Flieger.
How do the bass?
Wie die Soos nur wie die willst nur streben. In der Hart in der Schumme mir wellen dir geben. Nimm es mit, Kind, Mann, ihr fangt gut an leben.
Gezegd, this is the mean style Nigen, was mit afgebeten a couple of times, bis fällt heran in the gears. Se doen Niginum, was Kinder nemmen von einer Position heranlegen in eine andere Position. Nur wenn wir doen Niginum, die bist schon in jener Position, ist es geht. In Position meine ich so mit Feeling, mit Ergeischung. Das ist a gitte Pass-along Nigen, nicht a gitte Vessel Zieder bringen. As of now, is it a sound? Yes, I'm just saying. Kann sich changen.
Ins hast die aus der Welt, du in Stieb hat auch gefehlt. A Jingele, als es geht, wo's wird auflachten, die Welt. Wir haben
I leave the background music.
hat auch gefehlt.
I think.
Ins hast die aus der Welt, du in Stieb hat auch gefehlt.
Sehr interessante music.
A Jingele, als es geht, wo's wird auflachten, die Welt. Wir haben gegreit viel, gewahrt mit Freit geweint. Die lernen viel versteigt. Pinkt also wie ins Erzeugen, mein gewesen klein. Spreit aus Liebkind, deine Fliegele. Die eibst du na na.
Wenn du soll machen, eine, was redt Englisch, like spread your wings, was geht da mehr?
Ihr Leben, die schönste Matune, wo's mir uns gegeben. Bist die ne Schummele, in der Oikviertel, gut schein, spreit aus Liebkind, deine Fliegele. Begleit dir a Tate, a Mama. In die Liebschaft zu dir, geht auf eibig Flamme.
Baba. Ich liebe gerade der letzte Piece von den Nigen. Nicht kein schlechter Nigen. Ich sehe nur, dass ich darf es aussehen a couple of times. Ich bin zu quick auf mein Judgment auf dem. Kann das hat die noch mit der Rückenweitung? We don't know. But, ich will nicht an surprised, als ich hier das über a couple of times. And all of a sudden, jetzt ist es auf the good side, you know? Nicht, dass es schlecht jetzt. Just sag, man darf man develop my taste. Sag, man darf man... Wenn ich nur den gehen, weißt du, wie jeder Bucher macht bei der Bar Mitzvah, sie geht an, geht und ehrlich, und bei der Chassana, bei der Kippe, man macht aber noch den Real Life kicks in, und man wird den ganzen bent out of shape, you know, life happens. But the intentions are dort, right? The intentions are do. Die nicht gehen, like, das ist ein Kind, darf aussehen jeden Tag, weil der Kind geht ihm gar nicht auf den Nerven, du dort. Und stut sie Boston, darf aussehen die nicht. So darf das oben auf repeat. Just saying. Das ist die nicht macht betrachten. Alright. Jetzt kann man endigen mit dem Video. Mit Mandy Hershkovich Band. Starker nur von Mandy. Ich hoffe, der ist sehr talented. Wie heißt das? Mandy Hershkovich. And Yiddish, okay, how do you say this name?
Biolostowski.
Yidel. Hold on. Yidel.
Biolostowski.
Biolostowski. Okay. Mahir has the niggen. 2 days ago. 29,000 views. Phew, da hat man das lieb. The drummer kämen in schon. The saxophone kämen ins Ochet. Von the common players, was man sagt. So. Sally, have a lovely and awesome night. Thank you for being here even a minute. Thank you, Sally. Hold on, is the same French horns? Ja, the same French horn guy in the middle over here. Es ist so schnell gelaufen von einem Video zum zweiten. Jetzt gehen wir endigen mit dem Video. By the way.
Mehera, mehera.
Okay, der Gitarrist kämen ins.
Mehera, mehera. Odi shama be'are Huda uvechutzot Yerushalayim.
Okay, der Violins kämen ins auch. I guess once we did this for a few minutes, fangt man nun aufpicken the regulars.
Kol simcha. Mehera, mehera. Yeah. Mehera, mehera. Odi shama be'are Huda.
Wer pickt den again?
Uvechutzot Yerushalayim. Kol
Whoever is doing the bass guitar is doing a fantastical job. Okay.
כל ששון, כל שמחה, כל חתן, כל קלה, כל ששון, כל שמחה.
Give a kick the guitarist. I get as a guy mit the groove. Yes? Yes? I get as a full mit. Wer singt den Niggen originally?
ירושלים עוד שם והרעות ובחוצות ירושלים כל ששון כל שמחה כל חתך כל קלה כל ששון כל שמחה
Zalman. Ich meine, sind alle gewinnt surprised, dass das Arugapulto so geht. Zalman, how are you? Hello and welcome. How was your day? Ich ga endigen mit der Video. Kijk, zoals hij is stark amused. de vloeit daar.
ירושלים עוד שמה בערי יהודה ובחוצות ירושלים כל ששון כל שמחה כל חתך כל קלה כל ששון כל שמחה וכל קלה
Nicht schlecht, nicht schlecht. The question is, wer pickt den again? It's got 29,000 views. Sehr scheint though. Very talented. My day was okay, Zalman. Deal with the Rickenweitung, but otherwise, a solid 4. Alright, Gevre. Ich will nicht bleiben ziesach sitzen auf der Bänkel, cause mein Rücken geht mir, kann mir auch man. Sonst gehen wir ending in der Nacht, du. Sein Voice, ja, er ist nicht schlecht. Sein Voice ist gut. Just ein interessanter, ich meine, es ist mehr als ein Swardische Nigen, so, und ich bin nicht sicher gewohnt dazu. So, don't know. Alright, Gevre. Sie kommen der Zeit, und man darf sich sagen, und man darf sagen Goodbye. Ich will nicht sagen Goodbye zu Mariken. Gebt mal für jeden einen, was du gewinnt. Für eine lange Zeit, für eine kurze Zeit. Ich will so mich noch andere Tabs gemacht, mit YouTube Tab, warum ich meine dir. Gebt mal für alle Likers, Sharers, Commenters, Subscribers, and especially members. I really do appreciate you all being here. Adi hast any nigen herrschi, wo du wirst so reviewen, gib uns a schicker an. And we will review it the next chance we have. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? Housekeeping. Morgen, 8:45 in the free live. Morgen is Donnerstag, so there's no live by Nacht. So, we'll see you all mañana. Och, dat du wirst etwas schicken für the Unboxing Monday, 10:01 a.m. Aber gepinnt der Address, ob du willst. Ich werde das machen, ob sie tun anything. On Monday. Alright, this is done with housekeeping. Thank you all for being here. Ich habe mich stark enjoyed an Nacht, nur ich will gerne ein bisschen stretchen, so. Oh, der Nick muss mit jetzt gewaschen, ist ein Resel-Song. Es geht mal YouTube. Hier in der Original. Yes, Penny, hopefully viel besser. Sie wird besser und besser jede Minute. It's just, I can't sit for too long. And I darf noch change the positions, but otherwise, I ain't complaining. So, ich bin definitely auf dem Weg darauf. Werden besser. Now, do I appreciate, wenn es tippt mir nicht weiß, you know, sich heruzubeigen, 10 kleine Sachen. Seltzer guy. Hello and welcome. Seltzer guys ranking the last minute. We have a last minute guy. The Boine Oilem 2025 Langsam Feldman video. I'll review next week because there's no time. Day week. One day next week we'll review it. So in 40 minutes. There's going to be a lot of powering through, I would say. All right, Gevre. A gute Nacht. Ich kann euch alle fahren dus an. Hope you guys enjoyed. Because ich habe es definitely enjoyed. And We'll see you on the next one. And until next time, stay kind to one another. Peace.